So in this video, we quickly want to look at the methods of preparing alkanoic acid. Their functional group, we don't have problem with them, look at it. Also, their impact nomenclature, the point here I emphasize is for you to know that in their impact nomenclature, this carbon, COO, this carbon here is always number 1. That is the carbon of the functional group in alkanoic acid. It's always carbon number 1. It's a terminal functional group. Take notes. Method of preparing alkanoic acid. There are 3 of the methods. One of them is oxidation of primary alkanol, which in the process, you know, it will give you alkanal. Then further oxidation of the alkanal will now give you alkanoic acid. Oxidizing agents used, look at them. You can use either this one, you can use this, you can use this. You can also use chromium 6 oxide. This is chromium 6 oxide in anhydrous ethanoic acid as the oxidizing agent. Of course, I think we are used to this oxidizing agent already. This is a new one introduced, chromium 6 oxide in anhydrous ethanoic acid for this oxidation specifically, right? Now let us look at the reaction. This is an alkanol. Very clear, you can see OH. The first oxidation reaction, this oxygen came from this oxidizing agent, you know. The H positive shows that you acidified this heptazodichromate 6. Now, oxidation of primary alkanol, you remove 1 hydrogen from here, remove this hydrogen also, that is 2 hydrogens, which will react with oxygen to give you water, the living group. You'll be left with CH3, C, 1 hydrogen here, and then O. You can say that. This is your alkanal. The name is ethanal. The next step now is to oxidize this ethanal. Are you following? Which will now produce the alkanoic acid. What happens here is very simple. Simply, this oxygen will be introduced to this carbon. Are you following? To make it COOH. And this is our ethanoic acid. So that's that, alright? Now, let us look at the next one, alkaline or acid hydrolysis of nitrites. In alkaline or acid hydrolysis, all you do is to hydrolyze the nitrite. Nitrite, their functional group is C, triple bond to nitrogen. We should be used to that already, okay? Now, during the reaction, first, starting with acid hydrolysis, what is going to happen? This C that is triple bonded to this nitrogen will be broken into double bond and single bond. Are you following, right? Double bond and single bond. Now, watch what is going to happen. 1 oxygen will be removed from here. That oxygen will attach itself here. Are you getting me right? 1 oxygen is gone. So you are left with 1 oxygen left because this is 2 oxygens, you know. Now, 1 hydrogen will be removed from here. If 1 hydrogen is removed, you are left with 3 hydrogens. Again, 1 hydrogen that is removed will pick the remaining oxygen. If it picks the remaining oxygen, you're going to get OH, which attaches itself there. Look at what we remove from this compound. OH and O. 2 oxygen. So there is no oxygen here again. And 1 hydrogen from here. So you are left with 3 hydrogens. That 3 hydrogens will pick this hydrogen to give us 4 hydrogen. The 4 hydrogens will now react with this nitrogen to give us ammonium ion. All these are the living group. This COOH, that is this part now, is what we are interested in. And this is an ethanoic acid. Ethanoic acid. Because the nitrite we use here is ethanonitrite. And that is how we prepare alkanoic acid in this method. Next, we are going to see the alkaline hydrolysis, and then we'll also consider the way we can produce or prepare alkanoic acid from Grignard reagent and carbon dioxide. We now want to talk about alkaline hydrolysis of nitrites. Alright, so what happened there is similar to acid hydrolysis of nitrites. The only difference is that in this case, you are using an alkaline, that is a soluble base. And usually, bases are represented by what? OH negative. That's the functional group of bases. OH negative. Now, during the reaction, the difference is this. The first step, you do not get an alkanoic acid. No, what you will get is an ion. An anion. Is that okay? We refer to it as carboxylate ion. Then ammonia will be given off, NH3. Look at this nitrogen will be picked with this hydrogen and 2 of this hydrogen, making it 3 hydrogen, you get ammonia gas to be given off. Then this will now become CH3C. Remember, this triple bond will be broken to double bond and what? Single bond. Something like this, as usual. Are you following? So this oxygen here and this one will take that position and have this. Then this one that is singly bonded will be negative. Negative because it's not complete yet. Now the next step, you need to treat this carboxylate ion with a mineral acid. If you treat it with a mineral acid, this H will now attach to this oxygen negative to give you this alkanoic acid. So that is how we produce, in this case, ethanoic acid. Quickly, the last method, that is using Grignard reagent. Simply react Grignard reagent with carbon dioxide. That reaction is like a trapping. Carbon dioxide will be trapped in the Grignard reagent. You can see that. This is ethyl Grignard reagent, ethyl magnesium bromide. Alright? So when you react it with carbon dioxide, this carbon dioxide will be trapped in it. This carbon will attach itself to this carbon. Are you following? So you get CH3, CH2, COO. Are you seeing it right? Then magnesium bromide. Treat this compound with a mineral acid. That is hydrolysis process, acid hydrolysis. The process, this will be broken off. The magnesium will go off, hydrogen will take that position. And this is propanoic acid. We've seen a reaction a bit similar to this before, you remember? Alright? When we were preparing alkanols using carbonyl compounds. Something of this kind. Where if you treat the intermediate compound, magnesium bromide will be given off. Something of that kind. So at this point, this magnesium bromide will be given off, hydrogen will take that position you get. Please, take note. In this method of preparing alkanoic acid, the alkanoic acid you obtain in your result finally is always one carbon atom greater than the Grignard reagent you used. How many carbons do we have in this Grignard reagent? 2. But in the final compound, how many carbon? 3 carbon, propanoic acid. So if you use ethyl Grignard reagent, you get propanoic acid. If you use butyl Grignard reagent, you get pentanoic, 5 carbon atom, alright? So that's how it goes. Now I want to look at all the chemical properties of alkanoic acid reduction reaction. When you reduce alkanoic acid, it will give you primary alkanols. I mean, it's a clear process, right? Because if you remember when we were preparing alkanoic acid, one of the methods is oxidation of primary alkanols. To give you alkanal, further oxidation will now give you alkanoic acid. So if you reverse the process by carrying out reduction reaction, if you reduce alkanoic acid, it will take you back through alkanal and then back towards alkanols. And that is why here, it is given here that if you reduce, this compound is propanoic acid. Reduce the reduction reaction is simply introduction of hydrogen, you know that. So this hydrogen, 4 atoms of it comes from a reducing agent. Lithium tetrahydride aluminate 3, we are no longer new to this reducing agent, right? You can also use catalytic hydrogenation to carry out the reduction. You can use other reducing agent like sodium in ethanol to carry out the what? Reduction as well too. So what is going to happen? Let's watch. Take note of where alkanoic acid usually splits during their reaction. Remember the functional group, something like this, right? So this is where they always split. Does that make sense? Releasing the OH. So look at it, splits here. These 4 hydrogens, one from it will react with this OH to give us water. Is that okay? How many hydrogen will be left? 3. That 3, 2 of them will attach to this carbon of the functional group directly to give us CH2. Now we are left with this oxygen, and here we are left with 1 more hydrogen. That hydrogen will attach to this oxygen to give us OH, which gives us the alkanol. This is propanol. Is that okay? Now the next chemical property is formation of acid chlorides. Please take note. This reaction 4A to C we are about to treat here, they actually forms the method of preparing acid chlorides. After alkanoic acid chemical reaction, we'll be looking at acid chlorides. I won't say anything about preparation of acid chloride again as per writing the reaction equation. The reaction equation is all what we have here. Are you getting me right? So looking at this, during the reaction, look at the following things that the alkanoic acid can react with in order to give us acid chlorides. It can react with this compound SOCl2 known as thionyl chloride. We encounter this compound under alkanols, you remember. It can also react with phosphorus pentachloride. Alkanoic acid can also react with phosphorus trichloride. Now under here I showed you how this compound is split. So take note, like this one now, the OH released will still split into oxygen and hydrogen. Are you following? Then this SOCl2, thionyl chloride, will release SO. Then this Cl2 will split into 2. You can see that. Then the combination will start. One of the chlorine will take the position of this OH to give us the acid chloride. This compound is called ethanoyl, N-O-Y-L, ethanoyl chloride. Then this hydrogen will pick the remaining chlorine to give us HCl, alright, hydrochloric acid, and then the oxygen will react with this SO to give us SO2, which is sulfur 4 oxide. Come to this, again, this ethanoic acid, it splits at this point as usual. Then this OH will still split into oxygen and hydrogen. Okay, coming to this phosphorus pentachloride is going to split in this way. We are going to get phosphorus trichloride there. 2 chlorines will be released and the chlorine will still split again. Are you following, right? So chlorine atoms. Then the combination will start. 1 chlorine will pick this hydrogen to give you HCl. The other chlorine will take the position of this OH to give you CH3COCl, which is ethanoyl chloride. And then this PCl3 will react with this oxygen to give you phosphorus oxochlorate. Is that okay? Phosphorus oxochlorate. And look at the last one here. The compound formed, this living group, is quite different from what we saw in the other first two. 3 moles of the alkanoic acid, that's what we'll start with. The breaking still at the same point. Phosphorus trichloride will split like it will release the 3 chlorines completely as a whole, and phosphorus, so they will split. Now, this 3 chlorine will take this position of this OH. So this Cl is coming here as COCl. These 3 will cover for these 3 atoms as well. So are you following? You can say that. Again, these 3 moles or molecule of ethanoyl chloride. Then this acid will be formed. Hydrogen trioxophosphate. This acid will be formed. How? Phosphorus would react with this OH. This H is 3 atoms, you know that. So look at the H3, P, and then O3, because this 3 is affecting everything here, O3. So you can see the compound. Take note of that, right? Like I stated, this is a pathway that leads to the preparation of what? Acid chlorides. Let us now consider the halogenation of alkanoic acid. We'll look at chlorination and bromination. Now please take note of this before I move on into this. Halogenation of alkanoic acid no longer attacks carbon of the functional group. It does not. So this reaction violates what we know before, that most organic molecular reaction, they center on the carbon of the functional group. Please, halogenation of alkanoic acid violates that. Halogenation of alkanoic acid attacks from the alpha carbon. And what do we mean by alpha carbon? Alpha carbon is that carbon directly attached to the carbon of the functional group. For example here, the carbon of the functional group is this. This carbon attached to it directly, bearing this H3, is called the alpha carbon. The hydrogen attached to the alpha carbon is called the alpha hydrogen. Look at this case, this is propanoic acid. This is the carbon of the functional group. CH2 is attached to it. You know, this carbon is attached to this directly. This carbon is known as the alpha carbon. The H2 attached to it is called the alpha hydrogen. Now this carbon is directly attached to the alpha carbon. Is that not so? This carbon bearing 3 hydrogens. We call this carbon beta carbon. Beta carbon. The hydrogen on it is called the beta hydrogen. If there is another carbon attached to this, let's assume this is CH2 now, and we now have another CH3 attached to it. That next carbon is called the gamma carbon. Hydrogen attached to the gamma carbon is called gamma hydrogen. Now, for halogenation of alkanoic acid, the reaction starts from the alpha carbon. So let us look at chlorination quickly. You can see, in the presence of red phosphorus, take note, in the presence of what? Red phosphorus as a catalyst, alright? So the chlorine will now attack this carbon, replace 1 hydrogen. And tell you what happened in chlorination of methane will take place here. 1 chlorine will remove 1 hydrogen from here. The 1 hydrogen will pick the remaining chlorine to give you hydrogen chloride. I didn't show the hydrogen chloride because it's the living group. Are you following, right? Now in this case you can see CH2Cl. COOH remain the same. You can continue the chlorination process again. This chlorine, one of it will attach to this to give us Cl2. The hydrogen will reduce by 1. The 1 hydrogen will pick this to give us the living hydrogen chloride. Again, there is hydrogen on the alpha carbon, so you can still chlorinate. If you chlorinate, you see this. This is trichloroethanoic acid. Hydrogen chloride will be eliminated again. Suppose you have beta carbon here with hydrogens. You can still chlorinate, and the chlorine will now start attacking the beta carbon, replacing the hydrogen there. Are you following, right? But from the beta carbon chlorination, it is of no synthetic use, so we are not interested in that. We only deal with its alpha carbon attack. Is that okay? Or alpha carbon chlorination. Let's look at bromination, please. In bromination, please take notes. Bromination only attacks the alpha carbon. If it has replaced all the hydrogens on the alpha carbon, the reaction will stop if you try to brominate again. You can see that. The first bromination gave us this. Alright, this is mono-bromo-propanoic acid. On the second carbon atom, you have the bromine. Further bromination can remove this hydrogen, so you get 2 bromine on that alpha carbon. If you brominate again, the bromine can no longer attack the beta carbon, so the reaction will stop. That's why we'll have no further substitution. But like I said, if it were to be chlorine, chlorine will attack this beta carbon, replacing the hydrogen there. Please take note, methanoic acid cannot be halogenated. The reason for that is because methanoic acid does not have anything called alpha carbon. Hence, there is no alpha hydrogen there. Methanoic acid is this, CHOOH, or you can write it as HCOOH. Only the carbon of the functional group, no alpha carbon, no alpha hydrogen. That is why it cannot be halogenated. What is the importance of halogenation of alkanoic acid? The importance is the ability to form alpha amino acid and alpha hydroxyl acid. What do we mean by that? This halogen that we have on the alpha carbon, when you react the bromo or chloroalkanoic acid with, say, ammonia now, during the reaction, this ammonia will split to NH2 and release hydrogen. The hydrogen will pick this bromine to give us hydrogen bromide, the leaving group. NH2 will take that position. Are you getting me right? To give us the amino. Amino, we refer to it as alpha amino acid. Yes, alpha, because the amino group, you can see the product. Look at it, the amino is attached to the alpha carbon. Is that okay? This is actually 2-amino-propanoic acid. That's the name of this compound, known as alpha amino acid. The same thing here, if you react this 2-bromo-propanoic acid with sodium hydroxide, the OH will remove this bromine. Bromine will react with this sodium to give you sodium bromide, the leaving group. While OH will take that position. I will refer to it as the alpha hydroxyl acid. This is actually 2-hydroxyl-propanoic acid. Is that okay? So that's the importance of this halogenation reaction. If we dehydrate or heat this alpha amino acid and alpha hydroxyl acid, what will we get? We will get the alpha beta unsaturated acid as a result of the elimination of something from there. Are you getting me right? And the elimination process follows Sitze's rule.